Okay, so I recently found out about a very cute story when I was researching for another podcast episode, and that podcast episode was the one that I filmed with Anastasia. So if you haven't watched that yet, it is very cool because we have been friends for so long, so it just felt like a cool conversation between two friends that lived abroad. And yeah, anyway, the story I came across was about a little pink diamond. So the story goes that one day the dad comes to the little girl and gives her a rose pink diamond, and the dad says, go to the village and ask around and see what you can get for the diamond. So the little girl goes on her little adventure, goes down to the village, and first she stops at a bakery. She goes in, and the baker asks her what she wants for the diamonds, and she holds up 2 fingers, and he's like, $2? That is too much, I'm sorry. And then she takes that diamond and goes to the local gardener and ask him, and he's like, what do you want? And she's showing him the diamond and holds again up her 2 fingers, and he's like, 200? That is too much for a diamond. And she goes on and meets a woman that is grocery shopping and holds up the diamond and her 2 fingers, and she's like, 2,000? I don't think so. And lastly, she goes to the jeweler and goes in and presents him the diamond and holds up her 2 fingers again. And he says, 2 million? That's a fair price for that rare diamond. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna give you the money. So the story shows that different people can think about you and your value in very different ways, and you don't even have to say it because the girl never said how much she meant with 2 fingers, but it just represents that we oftentimes think our worth is, $2, $200. Like, I'm obviously not comparing a worth of a human with like physical money, but that's just to make it easier. But some people might think you're just good, and some people will think you're extraordinary and a rare pink diamond, like the jeweler thought at the end. And you can choose if you're gonna stay with that person. Like, let's say the girl would have sold the diamond with the baker. You can choose to stay with a baker, but you can also choose to stay with a jeweler. So I think we oftentimes forget that there's always a bigger possibility and someone that actually values you, because we think we're not worth what we are actually worth. And I also remember a time, I was on a plane, I was buying a bottle of water, and the bottle was probably $4, $4, which is a lot for water. But if you go to a supermarket in the big city, it might be $2, and if you go to a supermarket in a village, it might be $1. So you can be the same, you can stay the same, but just take yourself to a place where your value is bigger, because oftentimes we also think we have to change to actually become that value when we are already that value. We're already worth $4. The same water, it's the same bottle of water, just in different places. So just remember that you are worth what you aspire. Like, your biggest dream is not too big. If you want someone that buys you flowers and gives you anything you want, you totally deserve that, even though you might not even like flowers, I'm also not like the biggest flower girl, but it doesn't matter. It's about if someone is willing to to do that and to sacrifice something or not, because honestly, if we're thinking about relationships and partners, if someone really wants to do something, they will find a way. There's always a way, even though they might be limited with their budget or whatever. If someone really wants to give you flowers, they might drive to a flower meadow and then pick the flowers themselves. But if they want, they can. And if they want to see the value, they will and they can. So just keep that story in mind. And if you're a girl or boy or just like a pink diamond, maybe go get yourself a little pink diamond to be remembered of that story and to remember that you're always worth so much and even more. So never forget that, and I hope you like that little story. Check out my other videos. I talk a lot about mindset and just anything and everything that sort of helps me and advice I want to share. I do music as well, so it's Laura Leroy on Apple Music and Spotify, and my Instagram is probably gonna be linked below if you have any questions. Also, I'm happy about any comments and suggestions for further videos, future videos. So thanks for watching. Bye.